Welcome to this module on coaching specific tasks. Whether you're training a new crew member or helping someone sharpen a particular skill, coaching is one of the most direct ways to impact performance. And when it's done right, it doesn't just improve results, it builds confidence, trust, and momentum. Now, I've coached hundreds of people over the course of my career. New hires, team leads, business owners, you name it. And I've made plenty of mistakes along the way. I've talked too much, skipped steps, overcomplicated things, or just assumed someone knew what I hadn't shown clearly. But I've also seen what works, what actually moves performance forward. And time after time, it comes down to following a simple, repeatable process. Some of the things you might be coaching are cleaning a restroom or break room, carpet cleaning, window washing, cleaning an entire building, or organizing a custodial closet. Keep these things in mind as we go through this module. So let's break it down. If you want to coach someone through a specific task, something they need to do well and consistently, there's 5 key steps to get the skill to stick. So let's start with step 1, demonstrating the task. First, you need to show them how it's done. This may sound obvious, but it's surprisingly easy to skip. Sometimes we just assume someone already knows how to do the task, or we just hand over a checklist and expect them to figure it out. But when you take the time to demonstrate, you give them a real, concrete example to follow. And that's where effective learning begins. As you demonstrate, explain what you're doing and why you're doing it that way. Talk through your thought process and highlight any details or standards that matter. For example, you might say, I start with this step first because it saves time down the line. Or, I always double check this part to avoid mistakes later. This kind of real-time context helps the learner connect the dots and see how small actions lead to a strong outcome. It's also a good idea to go slow and pause for questions. You're not just showing the task, you're helping them understand the reasoning behind it. Step 2 is observing them doing the task. So now it's their turn. You would invite the learner to try the task while you observe. Your role in this moment is to step back and watch closely. Let them work through it and resist the urge to jump in and fix things as they go. This step is about seeing what they've retained from your demonstration and how they apply it in real time. Pay attention to their confidence level, the flow of their process, and any areas where they seem unsure or hesitant. You're gathering information, looking for strengths to reinforce and areas where additional coaching might be needed. Try to create a low-pressure environment here. People often feel nervous because they're being observed, especially if they're doing it new for the first time. A calm, encouraging tone goes a long way, and if they ask questions mid-task, be supportive without taking over. Let them try things and learn through doing. Step 3 is to provide feedback and re-demonstrate as needed. So after they've had a chance to try, now it's time for feedback. So you start by reinforcing what they did well. And be specific. Don't just say, nice job. Point out the actions that were accurate or aligned with what you showed them. This helps build confidence and makes it more likely those behaviors will stick. Then offer clear, constructive feedback on what needs to be adjusted. Focus on the behavior, not the person. So you might say, this step was missed. Let me show you again how I usually approach it. Or, here's a quick tip to make that part more efficient. If something didn't land the first time, don't be afraid to re-demonstrate. Watching you do it again, especially after they've tried it themselves, can give them a deeper understanding. Sometimes that second or third exposure is where it finally clicks. And remember, the tone of your feedback matters. Keep it calm, supportive, and direct. Your goal is to help them succeed, not point out the flaws. Step 4 is where the learner implements the task independently. So now it's time to give them full ownership. This step is about letting them practice the skill on their own with a clear goal and a reasonable amount of time to complete it. So instead of just saying, go do it, give them a little structure. Set expectations. What's the outcome? How long should it take? And when will you follow up? This creates a sense of purpose and accountability. The learner knows they're responsible for completing the task, and they also know that you're going to review the results. This is where confidence is built, not when someone is just watching or practicing under supervision, but when they take the reins and do it on their own. Expect mistakes here. That's part of the learning process. Your role is to give them space to figure things out while still being available if they get stuck or need clarification. You're creating a balance between support and independence. Finally, step 5 is to inspect the results. Once the task is complete, circle back and inspect the outcome. You're not nitpicking, you're verifying that the work meets the standard you're modeling. You're also checking for accuracy, consistency, and any signs of misunderstanding. This step matters because it signals that the task isn't finished until it's done right. When you inspect the work, give honest and helpful feedback. If it's well done, celebrate it. Recognition reinforces good habits and shows that you trust their abilities. But if there's something that needs correcting, walk through it together and use it as another chance to teach. Remember, this is an ongoing cycle. If they're still missing a step or struggling with part of the task, that's just a sign to revisit a previous phase. Maybe it's time for another quick demonstration or another round of observation. Skill transfer isn't one and done. It's a loop that you return to as needed. Skill transfer doesn't have to be complicated, but it does have to be intentional. When you take the time to coach someone through a task using this 5-step process, you're not just checking a box. You're building a foundation that they can grow from. So let's recap the steps. First is demonstrating the task. This is where you show the learner exactly how to complete the task. Next is observing them doing the task. So you've demonstrated, now you're watching them complete it. And third is providing feedback and then re-demonstrating as needed. Fourth is having them implement it on their own. This is with a clear goal, a clear process, a clear timeline to complete it. And finally, fifth is to inspect the results and give feedback as needed. Sometimes you may need to come back to one of the previous steps after inspecting the results. It's simple but powerful. And when done well, this kind of coaching creates a more confident team member, stronger performance, and a culture where people know they'll be supported as they learn.